Good morning. It is Tuesday again already, and I am back here with what I hope will be a quite short cooking class because I know we're all busy and starting the new year with tons of things to do. But I got the most wonderful inspiration for a Christmas gift from my sister. It is called Cannelle et Vanille, which means cinnamon and vanilla. Nourishing gluten-free recipes for every meal and mood. And today we're going to do the Tortilla de Patatas, which I've also heard called Tortilla Española. Um, so it is not the tortillas we Americans are most familiar with, which are made from corn or flour, wheat flour, and you use them for wraps, you use them for um, burritos and things. This is actually made with potatoes, which I am almost done chopping. These are little Yukon Gold baby potatoes and onion and egg, and it makes a much thicker type of tortilla than what we are used to, but it is absolutely delicious. And now I have a recipe from a true Basque woman. And if you've ever read anything about Basque cuisine, it all sounds so incredible that I just want to move there. So hopefully you will agree and try this simple dinner for yourself and your family as well. I chopped most of my potatoes and onions ahead of time because watching people chop things is totally boring. So you are going to need a nonstick pan, and one of these, this one's called Gotham Steel. I got it at Walmart. But one of the ones that is ceramic coated instead of chemically coated is a far better option. She says the recipe won't work with a cast iron or stainless steel pan. And don't be intimidated by the amount of olive oil because most of it gets strained out at the end. So we're going to start with, okay, this is not enough. It's the one part of the recipe I didn't look at. 1/3 cup of olive oil, which is definitely more than I'm used to putting, but we're going to trust her recipe. So she serves this with a romaine, fennel, and green olive salad that just sounds wonderful. And she whips up a homemade Dijon vinaigrette to toss it in. So here we go with some heat. And the first thing we're going to put in is our onions. And I'm making this ahead because it actually works really well as even leftovers. We're going to have it for dinner tonight, but I'm making it ahead so that all I have to do is throw together the salad tonight and we will be ready to eat. It says in her description, whenever someone that has visited Spain learns where I am from, their first question is always, can you teach me how to make tortilla de patatas? This is what mothers make for children when they go on field trips, what's prepared for a casual dinner or a birthday party, and it's what we eat for elevensies, which I love, that reference to elevensies. So if you ask my sister, her husband did a semester abroad in Spain, and his host mother would make him this as part of his lunch every day. And It is, like I said, it's one of my favorite simple, easy, delicious recipes. The oil is getting hot. We are going to drop in our onions. It says 1/2-inch dice. Also, I'm used to making this with potatoes that I slice into little rounds, but this recipe called for 1/2-inch dice of that as well, which if you've ever tried to thinly slice potatoes, you know that 1/2-inch dice is way simpler for the chopping part, so that is quite nice. All right, let's see. Potatoes and 1 teaspoon of salt. So I'm going to grab myself some measuring spoons. And while we're waiting for the onion to start sizzling away and become translucent, I'm going to start cracking eggs. This uses 6 large eggs, so that's where your protein is going to come from. Some people add bell pepper diced to it, both for a beautiful color and to get some vegetables in there. I don't particularly enjoy bell pepper cooked, so I'm very glad that she's given us this side salad recipe to go with it so that I don't have to come up with what we're going to have for the vegetable. And I don't have to hem and haw back and forth as to whether I want to tolerate cooked peppers in an otherwise wonderful dish. Also, quick funny story. My mom, when she was in college, was a home ec major, and we're not just talking, general education classes and a little cooking on the side. They really wanted these students to learn how to fully manage and run a home. So we're talking budget, food prep, all of the things that go into the work of running and maintaining a home and making sure that everything goes smoothly. And one of the things, now, of course, this is way back, so in the 50s and 60s, they said, if you've been so busy all day that you haven't had time to start dinner, then one trick is to throw some chopped onion in a pan on the stove and start cooking it, because it smells so good cooking, which is what reminded me, that it'll give the impression that dinner is underway while you work on what you really planned to make. And then there ostensibly won't be any complaining from the individual coming home from work and hungry for dinner. So there are my potatoes in. So anyway, I always think of that story and giggle when we start cooking onions and it starts to smell so incredible in the house. Because it really is true that your brain says, oh yeah, something good is being made for dinner when you smell sauteed onions. One of the most intoxicating smells of the British farmers markets, town markets every week were the caramelized onions that they would serve on and with the hamburgers or sausages that you could buy for lunch while you shopped. They just wafted down the rows of booths and made you almost have to get one. All right. So it says keep the heat on medium for about 2 minutes, then lower it to medium low for about 15 minutes. You aren't really frying the potatoes, but poaching them in olive oil. Keep the heat low so the oil simmers very gently. So in a couple of minutes, I will turn that down from the medium that it is on now. But I wanted to kick off this first class of the year with a recipe that is quite quick and simple. So if you don't have time to make it ahead like I'm doing today, you can totally whip up this dinner in about 20 minutes in an evening. And it's actually in a section of the cookbook that is called, I'm trying to get the exact right name. I could look at the table of contents probably more quickly. Yeah. No, it's hiding from me. Yeah, it's totally hiding from me. Everyday dinners. I could have just looked at the bottom of the page. Well, that's all right. And I don't know if you can see these gorgeous photos. The blogger not only writes about food, the beautiful plum frangipane tart, but is a professional food photographer. So her work on this book is incredible. I'm going to stir this around a little bit. Make sure everybody's cooking evenly, and that's my 2 minutes. So we'll turn it down. And it says, if the potatoes are not falling apart after 15 minutes, I take a fork and gently mash them a bit so the olive oil gets inside them as well. The potatoes should be tender and golden with some pieces caramelized. So that is what we're going for here. And that's probably the reason behind the recipes that I've done where you thinly slice them, because obviously that would get more surface area with the olive oil more quickly. But again, this is simpler, so why not? I think it's a great idea. While the potatoes are cooking, whisk the eggs and remaining half teaspoon of salt. And it says in a medium bowl, but I have to tell you, this is my favorite thing to whisk eggs in. It is a cup that came with one of those hand blenders like you might make a milkshake with or use in a big pot of soup to puree everything. And I just grab a fork. I don't use this cup very often for use with the hand blender, but it is the perfect thing to whisk eggs in or beat eggs in with a fork to make scrambled eggs, or in this case, our tortilla. For the salad, you're going to use romaine lettuce, one small fennel bulb, thinly shaved, a half cup of the Castelvetrano olives. I don't pronounce it very well, but I love them. They are meaty and almost a little sweet. Definitely not as tart or briny as some of the other olives you might buy whole, like Kalamata or something. So I cannot wait to taste them in this salad. And then 1 orange zested and juiced, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a tablespoon of red wine vinegar, a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, salt and pepper for your dressing. And that's going to give you a nice tart and a little bit spicy hit to balance the richness and really filling ability of this tortilla. So we have got quite a bit of time to wait for these potatoes to cook through and caramelize. So I am not going to make you wait 15 minutes with me, and then on top of that, the amount of time it takes to cook the eggs. But the remaining process with the tortilla is that once the potatoes are tender, golden, and caramelized, we're going to add in these whisked eggs. And what now? Okay. She says using a spider, which is one of those little pasta claw things, or slotted spoon, lift the potatoes out of the pan and into the eggs, draining off as much oil as possible. The potatoes might scramble a bit of the eggs, but this is okay. Stir the eggs and potatoes together. Pour most of the olive oil into a bowl, leaving about 1 tablespoon in the pan. Then you're going to rewarm the pan, add the potato mixture with the eggs back into the pan with a wooden spoon, stirring the center so the eggs start to cook. When they begin to scramble, you can just leave it be. The complicated part of this recipe is when it's ready to flip, you're going to put a dinner plate over the top of the pan. Turn the pan over onto the dinner plate so that the tortilla in one solid circle goes onto the plate, and then slide it back into the pan. That is your technique for the flipping of this large entire pan-sized tortilla. But that is everything. We're going to add the eggs. We're going to let those cook. We're going to flip it and cook it just a few minutes longer, and then it's going to be ready. And you can either dig in and have it for lunch, or make it ahead and have it for dinner, or 11sies, if you fancy that. Anyway, that is our class for this week. Remember to let me know in the comments if you have a recipe that you would love to see demonstrated, or possibly find out if there's a recipe out there Okay, well, it shows that it kept recording while I was trying to figure out what was wrong. So if you heard me, you already heard me say goodbye. If not, let me know what recipes you want to see and have a delicious week.